Again, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to our discussion. We're going to speak about Tavo. It was a very heavy one for me this week. I was very moved by many of the things that have happened and by my own sometimes lack of courage to speak out when I need to. It's not easy. I know that when there's a problem, we need to find the root. And the world is not dealing with the root of any problems right now. It just is always putting band-aids on, and the root is in our Torah. The root, when a tree gets sick, you got to go to the root to feed the medicine to the root, not cut off a branch, and that's what the world is doing. It was a strong message, but at the same time, I want people to know that the joy that we can have within when we are obedient. There's times sometimes that I am so overwhelmed with the joy of walking with God because I've experienced the other side. And I just want everybody to feel that, because when we love, when we're filled with God's love, that's all we can give. And that's what we need to learn how to give, instead of being filled with hate at the people who are doing harm to others, who are killing others, who are hating others. Sometimes I want to speak to people, even in my family, but they get so angry that I just back off. I don't want to fight and I don't want to lose my family, but I don't know what to say sometimes. Am I putting God before my family? It's really hard. I just have to go in each moment and keep praying that God will show me what to do. Anyway, time to listen to somebody else.
Thank you, Peggy. It's hard to add to. You said so much, and how do you add to that? Except, we see how it unfolds even now. I see all these videos about the pride of Israel and like how we're going to overcome, blah, blah, blah. And of course, my heart is moved by that. But the sad thing is, it's not about, Ireland has pride, Italy has pride. They love their countries. You should see when you go to an Italian wedding, my goodness, the pride and joy, which is fine, that's fine. But we're seeing so many things happen as a result of disobedience. It's just happening, the tip of what's going to follow. But anyway, the anti-Semitism is absolutely rampant. It's disgusting. The death of Charlie Kirk is just horrific. Anyway, we just see this all over, and it's increasing.
Yeah,
And
last week in Ottawa was stabbed by a 72-year-old woman, Jewish woman was stabbed in the chest.
oh, I know it's just,
Yeah, it's
but
crazy.
it's so hard to look at this and read this message because, as we were talking about the other day, remember this rabbi or ex-rabbi, whatever, he came to our congregation years ago, and
Yes.
we were talking about something like this, about how, Israel has been called to a purpose, not because we're better, but God chose us as ambassadors, and we haven't heeded that call. And, then you look at the Holocaust, et cetera, his face turned as red as an apple in anger. And I do understand it to a certain extent, because you have to talk about the root. You can't just, it
Exactly.
doesn't make sense, as you say, unless you talk about the root of it. But, and also we've discussed many times, I won't go much into it, but about evil. Yes, God has created everything, but he's given us free will, and there are consequences of our choices. And if you were to follow everything back to its source, Adam and Eve, you would see how little by little, piles and piles and years of disobedience, there are consequences to that. And we're experiencing that now, but we also have the joys, as you say, when you walk with God, there are joys. Could you imagine a world without God? Like, even, I think about my life and some of the real pain that I've experienced, and a lot of us have experienced. Without God, it's inconceivable to see how I could have lived my life without God. So we have blessings and curses even in our own lives. Anyway, that's my thought for now. There.
Exactly. And that's why it's so wonderful, Mauricio, what you do with your children, where you sit and you talk to them. Because one of the things that I realized that I didn't do when my kids were in university was I didn't sit down with them and say, "What are you learning? What are these?" But then I wasn't in a position to do it then because I didn't know any better. I didn't see. I didn't have the Torah. I lived in a society that had the Torah but didn't teach it. So that it's so important. That's why what Charlie Kirk is doing is so important. I would love to start an organization where we go into the schools and bring back the Ten Commandments and teach our kids again. You know, when I was singing yesterday at Maimonides, I was speaking to some of the people there, and I started to quote, I started to read, "The Lord is my shepherd." And there was many of the people there my age, some of course are older, we all knew it by heart because we learned it in school. We read the Bible in school. We learned the Ten Commandments, the golden rule, as they called it in those days. But the younger generation, those in their 60s even, 60s and 50s, were never taught that. And it has to come back. And I don't know if this is the last war that we're building up to now, but in the meantime, all we can do is, as I said, change ourselves, live a righteous life.
Even to what you said, sorry, one last thing about, you even have trouble with your family, but you could only do what's on we could look at the Charlie Kirks and thank God for people like him, but he was called to do that.
Yeah.
You're called to be light, well, through this, our little congregation and to your family. And if you can't say the things, you could live them. When you keep a promise or when you do this or that, it's not always the words. You can go to them. It's like, the
But
old thing when I was in Australia. What?
I live so far. They're in Texas. They're far.
No, but I mean, all you could do is do what's on your plate. I remember I'm going back to my old days when I was very into astrology. And I remember, just to make, never mind about, I know astrology's wrong, but I want to say something that was very funny. They said, um, giving advice to the sign Taurus, just as an example, was like throwing marshmallows at a brick wall. Now, let's just see the humor in it, but sometimes words are like throwing marshmallows at a brick wall. You have to dance the dance and live your life as best as you can. And it's more than words that are going to work with your family. And I'm seeing a change, even I've known you for so many years. I see a change in how you are with your children.
Yeah. Yeah, thank
Of
God.
course, there are going to be hard times, but I do see that change,
Yeah,
big time.
good. I'm glad.
Um, really, Peggy, thank you for the message. I was uh, trying to think about what this guy, Charlie Kirk, did. Um, in I have seen many videos about him because before he was killed, I honestly I never heard about him. Um, and 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 he used to say that it's important communication. By the time you stop to talk and understand one person to another, even you are in disagreement, um, then start violence start to come. Okay, and so and for me, this is something that Yeshua said many times ago. Go and talk to another person. And in this portion also, there is something very interesting because it says in the Barim that you cannot um, talk. Um, let me see how how the words are. Okay.
chapter?
Is chapter um uh, well, we is talking about uh calum- calumnia. Okay, let me check. Okay, one moment. Okay, in the 27 verse 24, it says that is cursed the one who won't secretly um,
First be
to
the
his
one
neighbor.
down a fellow Israelite in secret.
Yes. So that is exactly what he's talking about, is about calumny, is about talking behind a person. Okay. And this is something that today is happening because many people, and more with artificial intelligence today, they put words that seems that you are the one who are talking. Okay.
Right. Oh, it's
And it's terrible. And this is a kind of lashon hara at the
yeah,
end. Uh, when you start to talk against somebody who cannot defend himself.
right.
Okay. So the Torah tries always to face the other person at every time, because that is how the societies start to grow. Okay. When you have the capacity to talk one person to another. And I remember that there was an advice that a rabbi once told me. And I thank God for that advice, because it really made me grow, honestly. And it's about the couple when you are married to another person. And he told me, Mauricio, uh, that is a liar to say the word perfect. Oh, we think the very same with my wife. Okay, we are
Possible.
just one. Okay, and we love too much one another that we think in the very same way, everything.
Yeah.
We are at the same values, the same point of views. Everything is perfect. And I remember that when I came to this path of Torah, obviously there was a very big change in my family, because all my family used to be Christian. Okay, we were raised like Catholic and Protestants, and then suddenly Mauricio has become a betrayer. Okay, so uh, it was very hard for my dad, for my mom, and also for my wife. And but at the end, when he told me that you have to be agreed to be in disagreement, okay, that was a very powerful, uh, I would say, uh, experience, because I've learned that not always I have to be agree with the other person, but that doesn't mean that I don't have to respect her point of view. And 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 and, and then for me that allow us to be right now 23 years, okay, around together. So right now, this is that something that the world cannot understand.
No, right
when
now,
when
excuse me, right now what's being promoted is that words are like violence, and that if they don't agree with you, you have a right to kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is, you know why the left persons, okay, with left mentality, socialism and things like that, um is like they cannot speak. is if you can see there is something like a bad spirit between all of them. I mean, because when you start to talk to them, they start to shout.
Yes, that's
Okay.
exactly what happens. That's why I lose. And when people shout at me, when they yell, because they yell, and in my family, they're very
Yeah.
left. And then I just like I freeze and I can't remember one
Yeah.
thing I wanted to say. I feel
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah. And you know, they start to express what is inside of them. Most of them, they just want to destruct the destruction. They want to to destroy to whoever thinks difference to them, and they cannot have a healthy conversation
And
between
I
two
agree.
persons because they want to impose their own ideas.
Right.
Okay. So in the problem is, um, and also I have seen also people who are very in the past. I remember when I used to be Christian, there were some Orthodox Christians, okay, who were so holy, okay, um, and they start to shout because when they cannot control something, they are so religious, and they don't trust in God. I mean, they trust in their own ideas, in their own understanding about the Bible, and when people do not think as they do, uh, they start to yell, they start to shout, they start to complain, they start to try to destroy you. Okay. And the easy way to destroy you is is what this verse is talking about. Hey, do not talk in height of your brother, start to talk, okay, behind your brother, at your back, at his back. So in this is something uh, that is very important. Okay, today, that doesn't mean that you don't have to to talk. Recently, I have been in a very stressful moments. Okay, in my job, for example, there were so many uh, companies who used to sell some products and services to our companies that they were like very comfortable, and they start to reduce their service. Okay, the level of service, the prices, and things like that. They were so confident. Oh, we already have this company, and it's very nice. Okay, we can do whatever we want with them. Okay, so and I remember in the board of directors they told me, Mauricio, go to the market and look how to reduce costs. And I went to the market and looked for new companies, new product, new services, and yes, we reduce a lot of money, but it was very hard when these companies that for, I don't know, 20, 40, 50 years, they have brought you some product and services, come to you, see your face, and start to face with them, and start to say, why you lose your position with our company. Did you know why? Okay. Remember that I sent you this email on March, for example. I
Right.
have not answered yet. Okay. I and things like that, and
Right.
start to tell the truth to other persons, but not yelling, not destroying. No, to have an open conversation. And that is, people say, oh, that's intelligence, emotional intelligence, or out self-control. But no, the point is that we learn with the Torah to 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 um, to behave properly. Okay, okay, to and this is something important because the Torah is just a guide to all of us
Right.
to control our animal part, the animal part who has feelings, who have instincts, to have this frustration that that ends with you know, with violence or whatever. Uh, and then the Torah tells you, hey, you have the control. Okay, so in this case, if we read all the blessings and the courses, everything is that every day we are at the both mountains. Okay, deciding whether we want to go to Gesirin or to Rebal. So uh, in all the choices we do, then we have a consequence. And I don't believe that the purpose of God is that we go uh, like, you know, chasing the blessings. Okay, that's
Right.
not the main goal.
No,
The main goal is to obey His voice.
right.
Okay, so the blessings will come as consequence of obeying His voice. So that is more or less that you were talking and it's sad to see how the world today is losing right now what the Torah is really trying to teach you, to teach us. Okay, and and for example, uh, I cannot comprehend, for example, because I'm not sure if that is true, honestly, but I have seen, for example, a news that the Prime Minister of Canada is saying, oh, the Islamic values are the same as the Canadian values.
Yes, he said that. But he's a
Yeah, it's
yeah, he's a globalist. He's in the process of destroying this country. I have seen changes now that are putting chains around us. Horrible.
yeah, and then you start to see, oh, so pedophilia is a value, a Canadian value, for example.
Yeah.
Bestialism is a Canadian value. O sea, I mean, so the word is so
Yeah.
it's so crazy. I mean, but the end, I want to close with this. Remember that the prophet said that my people is dying because of lack of knowledge.
People perish for lack of knowledge of the Torah.
Yeah. So in that is exactly what is happening today. Uh, every day I have to fight with my kids that they need to search for truth and for knowledge. Okay. Oh, ChatGPT says, okay, or Google says,
Right.
or I don't
Mm.
know, or TikTok says, or
Yeah.
Facebook says. No, go and try to find the truth, that what is right, the knowledge, because uh, it's so deceitful, that the world in
Yes.
which we live, that they try to put uh, because they establish truth that are not really truth. Okay,
Yes.
for example, okay, Black Lives Matters. Okay,
Black Lives Matter. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's an example.
Yeah.
Okay, and why? Because that is true, but the point is, because it's not only black. I mean, all the human race lives matters to
Exactly.
God.
Yeah.
no matter if you are Chinese, no matter if you are Arab or Jewish or Canadian, white, no
Exactly.
matter your color,
Right.
no, every life matters.
Yeah.
Okay, that is something that happening. Another thing, for example, uh, it's very sad. For example, how uh, this color man kill a woman, a Ukrainian woman, youth woman
Yes.
in a
Terrible.
train, for example.
Terrible.
It's something, and there were four people around that girl, and
Yeah.
nobody could stop the man or say, hey, what are you doing? Prevent the girl to save herself. That
Yeah.
is guilty, the one who really made the assassination, and the other four that were just look at the girl and who cares?
Yeah.
Okay,
Terrible.
that is our word.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and and what the Torah is telling us, hey, eh, ma- what can we do if we are really Torah followers? At least to try to stop that assassination.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so that is many values and many things that are that I have. Honestly, I'm very sad with the teachings in schools, at the universities,
Yeah.
because what they're trying to learn is values anti-Torah. Okay, it's like, you know, um, for example, in things like, oh, the woman can do whatever she wants uh, without fetus because is they are only cells, for example.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So
And
things like
it's
that is not good, and we need to raise up, as you mentioned at the beginning. Hey, we need to talk about this.
right.
Uh, and the point is, I hope one day the word comes as the after us says that everybody can see, okay,
Yes. Yeah.
uh, because the light of the Lord will shine.
Yes.
Okay,
Did you
so
notice? Did you notice that it says that Moses had to set up those stones made of plaster and
yeah,
they had to put them on Mount Ebal. Ebal was the mountain of the curses. They didn't put them on the mountain of the blessings, which was Gerizim, but because they would already have known the Ten Commandments. It had to go on Ebal, where the curses were. I thought that was, I don't know if you noticed that I mean,
oh,
there's so many things that God is teaching us. I am so grateful. And I just pray for this, this community that we can really be the as Rabbi used to say, the Shear Yashuv, the remnant shall return, that this remnant can bring light to all those, because that can spread. That spreads you speak to your family, you speak to all the people at your work. We all have that. So it's not just us here, this few families, but the light does spread a lot faster than the darkness. So we'll just have to keep praying that God gives us the courage and the strength and the will to hear his calling. He says some can see. God gives ears to those who to hear and eyes to see. May he give us eyes to see and ears to hear. And may we be able to, and please pray for me, that I don't freeze, that I learn to speak with tact, as you taught about last time, with kindness, with, I have a terrible memory. So, and I don't keep a lot of facts in my brain. So when I go to argue with someone who is a very high detailed person and they start throwing all these facts at me, because I don't deal in facts, I deal in an overall root. I go to the root and I deal with I've been given the gift of seeing the bottom line. But it's very difficult for people sometimes to see that bottom line. Anyway, we need to pray for each other, that God would bless us, that He would help us to be a light. Excuse me, I have to. So before we end, is there anyone else who has something that they would like to add? All right. Well, thank you again for sharing Shabbat with us. I wish we could all be together. Mauricio, I dream about all of us coming to El Salvador and being able to have we'll put a chuppah under a palm tree right next to the ocean and have a service there. I will be the first one there. It would be
great.
That would be wonderful. Anyway, I want to wish you all a Shabbat Shalom. May God bless each and every one of us and help us to fulfill our calling on this planet. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.